Ladies and gentlemen, just over a month ago, both Alex Hormozi and MrBeast announced that they were pivoting their content style away from retention style edits. They're doing away with this ADD, ADHD, the DDs, the ADs, and the ADHDs and Ds, and leaning into longer form, less hyper edited, and more valuable type of content. Now, the strategy appears to be working for one of those two creators, and for the other one, not so much. MrBeast's audience doesn't seem like it's responding as well as Alex Hormozi's. We're gonna look at the numbers and we're gonna take a look at Social Blade, and I'm gonna give my analysis here in just a minute, but I think it boils down to a few things. And if you are a creator who's interested in taking your channel to extreme heights, getting millions of subscribers, you're gonna wanna pay attention to what I have to say today, because what I'm gonna tell you is gonna impact you even right now, whether you're at 50 subscribers or 50,000 or even 500,000 subscribers. What I'm gonna share with you in this video, nobody else is talking about. Let's dive in. All right, you guys, looking at MrBeast's channel, you can see over the course of the last 6 months that he's been averaging between 100 and 200 million views per video on average. Now, a month ago, he released this video, ages 1 to 100, decide who wins, got 155 million views, and then every video since then, his videos have been unable to break the 100 million view range. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking, because I've heard it from you on some of my other videos. You don't like when I beat MrBeast up. Everybody likes MrBeast. It's totally fine. He's Jimmy D, not to be confused with Jimmy Dean, the sausage company. And everybody loves him. Everybody wants to listen to him because he's the most successful creator in the world. Literally just passed T-Series, I think today when I'm recording this. He is absolutely destroying every other creator in the world. But when we're talking about a 50 million view swing between one video to the next video after this got 97 million views, and then 2 days ago this one's up to 58 million views. MrBeast's videos have declined in viewership by about 1/3. I don't care what size of a creator you are, if you take a 30% hit in views, you are going to be feeling it. You are going to be freaking out. In any podcast that you watch MrBeast in, you can tell that he's got a sense of anxiety that seems to be looming over his head at any given moment. And this also probably has to do with the fact that he has investment capital. He's got people who are backing him. He's got people who are watching his every move to make sure that he doesn't crumble and fall and they lose all of their investments. That makes sense. So let's talk for a second about why MrBeast's views might have taken that 30% hit and what he needs to do in order to change that around. So here's my thought. The number one reason that people subscribe to MrBeast initially, it's because he takes things to new limit. He thinks of a crazy idea and he goes and does it. The problem with this is that you have to constantly be evolving your content strategy. I watched an interview with MrBeast, I think last year, where he was talking about learning Japanese just so he could think differently and come up with new ideas that he could take on YouTube and turn into insane viewership gold. But the problem is eventually you reach evolution burnout. You get to a point where your audience is no longer interested in what you're doing, or you get to the point where you hit human burnout and you can't figure out how to create a piece of content that is going to attract new viewership every single time, continually moving forward forever. You look at the most popular television shows of all time, and they all peak at some point. So I'm not rooting for MrBeast to peak. I know there are some people in my audience. I saw in the comments last week, there's some people who are rooting for MrBeast to fail. I'm not rooting for MrBeast to fail, but I'm keeping an eye on these things because I am most interested in pivot strategy. I'm most interested in evolution strategy. Because all of our favorite creators, whether it's PewDiePie or Ninja or Sniper Wolf or anybody that you're following, or Hormozi or Graham Stephan, they are all going to hit a peak at some point. And some of these people have already peaked. They've gotten to the point where they're unable to break 1 million views per video or a couple 100,000 views per video. Look at Graham Stephan right now. He's hitting a ceiling in his content. He can't break through that ceiling unless he evolves. And so MrBeast decided a little over a month ago that he was going to evolve his content and he was going to do away with the high retention focused edits that are just intended to give a dopamine hit every 3 to 5 seconds, which I think was a good strategy. The problem that he's having right now is that his core audience was trained to watch that style of content, was trained to focus on retention editing. And MrBeast is a product of that training. And so as soon as he does an about face, that's going to require a period of time for people to get used to that content, or a retraining period. And for probably a lot of his audience, they're switching over to TikTok, they're switching over to Shorts, they're switching over to the creators that still have that fast-paced, high-retention editing style because that's what they're used to, that's what they need in order to pay attention to content anymore. It's kind of like Pavlov's dog. Remember in Psychology 101? Where you have the whistle and every time the dog comes, you give it a treat. And then slowly you start to take the treats away so that way the dog just responds to the whistle. It comes every time you whistle. Well, this is kind of like the same thing, except MrBeast, instead of giving them a treat when he whistles, he gives them a piece of broccoli. It's still good for you, but it's not as enticing as the treat. So I'm going to tell you what MrBeast is doing about this here in just a minute. But before I do, I want to talk about the next thing that I think is hindering MrBeast. That is total addressable market. MrBeast has hit a ceiling. And his highest viewed video has 616 million views. He hasn't been able to break 1 billion. And for the most part, I think that he's kind of capped around that 300 million mark for most of his videos. What happens when you hit that total addressable market? That's your ceiling, you guys. Again, unless you can pivot out of that to reach billions of people, you're kind of stuck. And in my opinion, unless MrBeast can make such an insane spectacle of his content like he did with Squid Games, which was internationally famous, you know, it was famous in Asia, it's famous here, I don't know if he's going to be able to break that 300 million view kind of like high average for his channel on YouTube. Earlier this year, MrBeast struck a deal with Amazon for the biggest competition series in television history. This is the next evolution for MrBeast. He's going mainstream with his content. He's creating software programs. He's creating merch lines. And he's creating chocolates. I think what we're going to see with MrBeast over the next couple of years is him not trying to hit YouTube as hard, but him focusing more on building the empire outside of YouTube, which is actually a brilliant move. I think it's genius for Jimmy because in my opinion, you guys, in all honesty, I don't think he's going to get many more views than he's already getting right now. And I don't think that this pivot that he's doing is going to increase his total addressable market. If anything, I think it'll shrink it a little bit. And he's 26 years old right now, you guys. If I'm being honest, he's outgrowing his relevancy with that younger demographic. So he has to shift to a demographic that's a little bit older in order to reach a wider TAM. But in doing so, he's alienating that younger demographic. And so he's got this catch-22. It's a double-edged sword. Ultimately, I think this is good for him though, because that older demographic has more money. And in reality, he can sell to an audience of people who have money to pay for his stuff, for his services. So final analysis on MrBeast before I move on to Alex Hormozi. I think this is the beginning of a big pivot from MrBeast more into mainstream entertainment. I think he's going to become a multi-billionaire with the stuff that he's putting out, with the strategies he's doing, building that empire. But I also think that it's coming at a sacrifice. I think that his mental health is suffering, and I think that it's going to continue to suffer because he's so obsessive about the things that he's doing. So ultimately, take it as a grain of salt. If you want to be like MrBeast, you got to go hyper obsessive. If you want the best of what MrBeast has to offer, follow his strategies, look at what he's doing, take what you can from what he's doing and implement it into your own stuff. All right, you guys, let's talk about Alex Hormozi. Hormozi created a video a month ago right here, how I gained 7.8 million followers in 40 months, 6 key lessons. Now I did a breakdown of this ish with my video about a month ago talking about this versus MrBeast and in their pivot strategies. So I'm not going to rehash all that out, but as you can see, after this pivot right here, he has had kind of a series of nothing that has broken 200 or only a couple of videos that have broken the 200,000 view mark. This one right here, 13 years of brutally honest advice. This is kind of an outlier though, an hour and a half. Something I'm going to talk about this here in just a minute, but just pay attention to this video for a second because I think it's really fascinating, really interesting. And then this one right here, you're not behind my system for outlearning everyone. 25 minutes, 280,000 views. But for the most part, everything else has kind of taken a little bit of a dip. If you look at his content before this, 600,000, 400,000, 400,000, 500,000, 300, 500. The videos that were under 200,000 views were fewer and further between. Now, here's the thing. Before he made his pivot, he was making fewer videos a month. Since he's made his pivot, he has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 videos in the last month. That's wild. That's a lot of content. I mean, look at it. An hour ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago, 6 days ago, 8 days ago, 10 days ago. In the last 10 days, he has produced 7 videos. That's fast paced. So check this out. April to May, he was actually down in views. May to June, he's back up. So his views went from 23 million to 31 million, even though he's made that shift from high entertaining videos that were getting 300,000 to 600,000 views to more business oriented videos that are getting 100,000 to 200,000 views. His views have gone up. Also, his subscribers have gone up. 120,000 subscribers in the last month. That's pretty solid. I think we're going to see Hormozi on an upward trajectory simply because he has gone back to his roots. You guys, look at his old content when he really started taking off. But if you look at his content, he's literally sitting on a fireplace with a piece of paper next to him, just rambling, talking about business concepts, standing up in a room with books next to him. Let's keep going. Here's one where he's just sitting in his family room, really grainy camera quality. There it is, Hormozi in the closet. This is the stuff that made him famous. This is the stuff that helped him take off, take him to the 2.3 or whatever he's at subscribers now. It was very basic, very dumbed down, very stripped down content about building businesses. But a storm, did you guys hear that? This is what people want from him. They don't want that entertainment content. Some people enjoyed it, but those weren't the people who are taking his business seriously. So him doubling down on this content is actually better because he's going back to his roots. MrBeast can't go back to his roots because his roots were doing extreme things. In order for MrBeast to keep growing, he has to just keep doing extreme things in order to outdo himself. Hormozi doesn't. He just has to keep attracting the people who are interested in business. And that's a revolving door. His total addressable market, it might be 200,000 people, but it's 200,000 people this year, maybe 150,000 of those people are going to be relevant next year, but a new 50,000 is going to move in. So he's constantly finding new people, which in reality is awesome for Hormozi. So will Hormozi peak? Absolutely. Everybody always peaks. But I also think that Hormozi can evolve past that. I think Hormozi will figure out what's next, and his will probably ultimately be mainstream as well. I could see Hormozi on a Shark Tank type of a television show at some point. So you guys, it's important for you guys to be focusing on these things right now. You need to have an evolution strategy. You need to be thinking about what your next 10 moves are. We have a free YouTube blueprint down in the description below. All you got to do is click that link and give us your email, and you can have 60 plus pages of solid YouTube advice helping you figure out what your strategy is for your evolution, for your content, for your growth on YouTube. So take a look at that. It's down in the description. If you want to skip straight past the dating, straight to marriage, click the link at the top of the description where you can book a call with our team to discuss what we do at Rafidi Media. If you guys want to see what's going on with LinkedIn right now in video, I think there's some really good opportunities there. I break it all down in this video right here. Catch you on the next one later.